Hey.
And we're live. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Bjork from Benedictson from Audio Issues.
I'm Ed Eleftherian from Relief Tone, or Ed Charles from Spotify or someplace. And
Yeah.
we are Benedictson and Eleftherian.
Yeah, we do this podcast called Influences and References. And today's podcast episode is different, I guess, because there's a lot going on. And I think we should. I was actually afraid of coming here today
Yes.
because I wasn't sure what I was going to say.
And we're
I
still
still
not sure.
don't know what I'm going to talk about. We made some notes. Obviously, we are highly unqualified to be talking about race relations in America and the Black Lives Matter movement, seeing as we are just two privileged white dudes that should probably shut up about it. But at the same time, I think
it's a
the
waste of
only thing we can do is offer some semblance of support. The more people talk about it, the more attention it gets, and I'm all for marketing the Black Lives Matter movement if it helps rectify some of the situation that the systemic racism in America has caused in the last, well, I don't even know how many years I should actually mention, because we could say 300, we could say the last 70, we could say forever. But that's where we're going to start, I guess. I sent out a pretty interesting email yesterday. Did you read it, Ed?
I read it. I read it.
And it was intriguing because I didn't know what to say, and everybody else was reacting to it. And I was thinking, well, should I say something? Should I speak out? Should I say what I really feel? Or should I just sort of dampen Audio Issues marketing for a minute while it blows over? And I couldn't really do that. And at the same time, I had a really hard time trying to figure out what the right words were.
Well, I think just let me stop you right there, because when you said wait until it blows over, the hairs on the back of my neck went up, because I don't like, this is not let it blow over. Like, this is not. It's not a hurricane, and we've got brothers and sisters, and we do in Puerto Rico, that have been neglected and abandoned, and that has not blown over. It's just disappeared from the news. But the worst thing that could happen would be for this to just blow over. I mean, it's not about. And if anything gets blown over, it's the house that all of our elected officials, it's that house that should be blown over, because I don't see these suckers representing any of the people that put them there. And we can debate about whether or not people put them there at all, with gerrymandering alone, voter suppression alone. I mean, yeah, I'm getting a little strident because I don't think blowing over is the way to put it. And I know you didn't mean that. And I know it's just, but that's just part, and I'm just as guilty of it. And so are we all. The idea of we don't think about the language we use. We just know what we mean to say. We know what we're trying to convey. And I'm gonna put my foot in my shitty mouth many times in this next 5 minutes, probably. But well, I don't think it's about blowing over. But I do agree that marketing is probably not the thing to be doing right now.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because that's also one of the things that I share with probably many other people, and it's the fact that you're so worried about saying the wrong thing that you say nothing.
Yeah, no, I'd rather you say, and I don't know if I'd rather, I was about to say, I'd rather me say the wrong thing. But man, it's scary. It's a scary time to be alive. You can't even, this is apples and oranges. It's scary. I'm sitting here saying it's scary. from a very privileged point of view, folks. Not just that I'm a white guy, but I am not of means. I'm not a rich man, but I am not a poor man. And it's not a black-white thing entirely. I mean, it's not. Dr. King knew that. Dr. King was saying this so many years before he was assassinated. This is economic segregation that unites us as the oppressed. Yes, of course, it's black and brown and anything that's not white. Those colors mean mostly, when you think of those colors, when I think, oh yes, those people are oppressed. Those people have it hard, and they do. But they're, if you're making less than the poverty level, and it doesn't matter what your skin color is.
Yeah.
You know.
So
Yeah.
It was interesting because I sent out that email and it took a while to come to. Well, basically, I woke up, and I woke up inspired. I woke up with an idea in my mind, and I woke up with inspiration in my head, which does not happen often. I sometimes have to coax it out. I sometimes have to sit down and force it out of me. But then I went for a run and I collected my ideas as I ran, and I started thinking, what if we wouldn't have enjoyed any of the music that we have both enjoyed and also has inspired so many other musicians, to the point where the musical landscape today would be completely different if it weren't for those people. So my thought process and my sort of point that I was trying to convey was that if they would have had the same fate as some of the African Americans that have been victims of police brutality and victims of systemic racism for so very long, I wonder how much of that music would have been lost.
Well, the thing is, they were victims of this. They did have to use the back stairs. Billie Holiday, man, she like so many others, they had to stay in a different motel.
Yeah.
From the people they were performing for. She had to go up the back stairs, wait in a separate room that was just for the colored.
Yeah.
And they would fetch her when they were ready to have her come down. So, I mean, and that's just one example, one tiny example to illustrate the idea that, well, I mean, I know what you're getting at. The thing is that separates them from George Floyd is that they lived longer. Their lives were not ended literally with a knee on their neck. But Billie Holiday, if it wasn't for what was his name, Harry Anslinger, the head of the narcotics department at the FBI, she would not have died the way she did, handcuffed to a bed in 1959 with pneumonia. Yeah, he was so after her. He was so after her he wanted to just ruin her, and he did. He ruined her career by first he took away her club license so she couldn't perform in the beloved clubs that not only she loved, but that gave her a living. That's how she lived. How did they take away her license? He knew she was a drug addict, and he set her up. He had a black officer who she was friends with already, who was in love with her. I think his name was Jimmy Smith, but you have to correct me on that. I'm not sure. My facts are away from me. But he set her up. This officer sold her heroin, arrested, 1.5 years in a penitentiary, no singing, no nothing, no performing. She came out, no license, and that was the end of her career, end of her life, right there. When she ended up in the hospital, she checked herself in because she had pneumonia. She was sick. She didn't know what she had. As soon as he found out she was in the hospital, what did he do? Sent officers down there. They handcuffed her to the bed. And the day that she died, the next morning, she was supposed to be arraigned in court. So she was either going to be dead that night or they were going to haul her off into court. And when she died, she had nothing. She had 70 cents in the bank. bank account and $750 strapped to her leg because that's the only place she trusted. I mean, it's just.
You're quite the scholar on Billie Holiday. I know this. Not
I'm
just.
not the scholar. I just read, and sometimes things stick.
But I know
Sometimes they
that
don't.
I know that you have written quite a few songs on her or inspired by her, and then you just finished something recently. Do you want to tell us about that?
The song I sent you today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. You hadn't listened to it yet, and after this, you maybe will, or if we could play it through this, that would be cool. But
Yeah.
I don't know that we can't do that. Before this happened, I was working with Bob, one of the members of your audio issues program that we share.
Yeah.
And Bob's a member, and Bob had approached me and said, "Hey, you want to write some commercial ads, some jingles, some things for licensing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds fun. Let's try it." And I wrote this little thing called "Someone's Gonna Pay," because I think what had just happened was that the coronavirus had just started. This was in like March 15th, March 17th, something around then. And I remember Trump's response to it, and I was thinking, man, the chickens are going to come home to roost on this. And it just got me angry. And so I wrote this, 15 minutes. I wrote this little thing. And I liked it, and I had to develop it. So long story short, I developed it like 2 weeks ago, and I finished it. And I think like the day I finished writing it was the weekend of Memorial Day. George Floyd murdered on Memorial Day. And it just, it's one of those things where I was ahead of the curve in a way, because the song is about just the title, Someone's Gonna Pay. And it's, I started writing it from the point of view of someone who was out to assassinate the people in the house, because he was so outraged. He was like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
I've had enough. And so what? I get a little dirty. So what? I get blood on my hands. If that makes me bad, then I'm bad. That's the first lyric. If I get a little blood on my hands, if that makes me a bad man, then I'm a bad man.
And for all you NSA spooks that are listening in on this, we're talking about a work of art in the form of a song and not an actual plan that's supposed to happen in real life.
No, this is fiction. Obviously, it's fiction. It's a fictitious story. It's just even an image. But I like to write songs that are not just about one angle, as you know. So I kept it specific and general enough to mean, you could take on the tune and it can be whatever you want it to be about. But it's outrage. It's about someone who's just outraged, and they're sort of at the end of their rope, and they don't know what's going to happen. There's a line in King Lear, one of my favorite plays of Shakespeare's, and King Lear is like, he's been rejected by one daughter, and then he travels outside, and there's the storm, and he tries to go to another daughter, and he's sure that she's going to let him in. And she's like, take your retinue, take your men, you can stay the night, but only with 2 people, the rest of them got to go. And he was so outraged, and he just said, I shall do, I know not what, but it will be the terrors of the earth. And I identify with that line when I first learned it 20 years ago, because it's that moment where you are full. You are full.
Mm-hmm.
And passion is taken over, and you're almost out of your mind. Like, you don't know what you're going to do. You just know it's going to be so bad. It's like, I'm just going to, that's kind of where the song comes from. And I think, that's where a lot is coming from right now. I think we all can share that. And it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to keep a lid on it, to kind of, like, I commend the people protesting in all the cities across the world who managed to keep in their minds peace.
Right.
Do this peacefully. And if someone's gonna if someone's going to clear you out of the way, it's going to be a cop, and they're going to be using tear gas. Like, let's gas our own citizens to get them out of the way,
Right.
so we can have a photo op. It's not the citizens. Like, and yes, we have looting, and yes, we have what people are calling riots, but this is, we've got 80, 85%, 90%. I mean, there's some, of course, there are going to be bad apples, and we can argue about who those are, and you see what I'm getting at.
Sure.
But in general, the majority of people out there are helping each other out.
Yeah.
And
I saw some story about, like all the protesters are, they come together, and then they're obviously in the face of adversity, because these are definitely not even sides. One side is armed almost like an army, and the other side is trying to be protesting peacefully. Obviously, nobody is encouraging the looting and the rioting. And I got some emails about that yesterday, about how nothing should justify vandalism and destruction of property. And I do agree with that. But there's a certain part of me that empathizes with when your meter is full and you haven't been heard for so long. What are you supposed to do?
yeah, this whole idea of the property is being destroyed, and I can see the justification for that. That's the wrong place to be looking. We shouldn't be trying, saying, well, I can justify the looting, or I can justify the destruction. People are angry. How do you justify the murder? That's where you should be looking. Like, I'd rather have some malls that are just not going to open for a while, and businesses that are going to be hurt, than dead men and women. I don't care. I mean, that's the priorities that are fucked up.
Yeah.
When business and commerce becomes the thing that gets under our skin, that's a problem. And that's our country. That's our world. We are driven by profit, and profit alone, as a culture.
Right.
As a society, no. And I think now the society is starting to speak. I think part of the reason also is that people don't have jobs right now. There is nowhere else to go. We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Mm.
So if people have something to say, or they want to do something, there's no other alternative. It's like, I'm going to get my ass out there. Yeah, I mean, I think, would my ass be out there if I wasn't, right now I'm helping to take care of someone who's not very well. Excuse me. But I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, I have a lot of energy and passion about this, because I'm angry, and I'm upset, and I'm confused, and we're talking to each other. And I haven't spoken to anybody about this. Obviously, I've been in caretaker mode. So anyway,
live in front of an audience where we can't take anything back that we say. That's maybe And I will say that it is interesting that there's not a single comment, even though there are definitely people here watching. So it makes me wonder: are people too scared to ask a question, or this maybe isn't the?
I'm right there with you, scared person.
Questions, but it's also, you don't necessarily want to comment, because what I've done in the last week, so like I have not been commenting on the protests, or I've not been blasting my Facebook with my thoughts and feelings on what's going on. I tend to very much take the observer role. I really like being able to weigh everything that's going on and make up my own mind, come to my own conclusions, view multiple facets of the issue, and then just come to my own conclusion and have an opinion, and then guess what? Not tell anybody about it.
Yeah. No, I'm maybe that's why we kind of get along, because I'm very similar that way. Like I do play things close to the vest. I do, unless I'm in the teaching situation, or where I'm in a leadership position, maybe I'm directing a moment of, a play, or I'm or I'm working with a band about if I'm in a leadership position, of course. And I guess that's how I'm feeling now. I feel like, yeah, we kind of are right now in leadership position for the next 5 minutes or next next hour or so. Who knows? But yeah,
Well,
got a couple comments coming in. Thanks, folks.
Well, John, who's a recent insider, is he's a great student and a really great engineer. He says no one knows what to say, and that's so true because yeah, we can have our, we can have our like one sentence like outrage of like obviously this is bad and the other thing's bad and all this stuff, but nobody really knows exactly what to say because especially in the last week now with curfews and the governor of Arizona just like haphazardly said curfew at 8 without really explaining anything or having any sort of guidance. Didn't even notify the mayor of my city, so she didn't know what to do. And so there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions from the top down, or from the quote unquote top of the pyramid or whatever.
Yeah, from the top down. I think you got it right. Yeah.
And those seem to be not thought through either.
No, God.
Chris Kelly says, I just finished mixing a record for him today. And he said, more lives lost, more anger, no change every day. I can walk out the door of my home with built-in protections that many of my friends don't have. The only difference between me and them is the color of our skin. I worry about these friends every single day. A single broken taillight can devolve into a situation they don't come home from. That's fucking insane. I appreciate the profanity. If anyone on this entire planet has a reasonable answer why after Freddie Gray, after Eric Garner, then right, his comic got cut off. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, Chris is outraged, and good on you.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah. And at this stage, words feel very empty, so it's difficult to say. Hasn't it all been said before? Isn't some sort of action required that acknowledges the sentiment and feeling in the communities? Absolutely. And that's where I think all of this is lacking. There's very little empathy. There's very little sympathy. There's only, hey, this is what we're doing. Deal with it. Get out of the way. I need a photo op. Or get off the streets. They should be empty, even though it should be a free country. But I technically knew immigrating and becoming an American citizen that I technically was immigrating into a country that is less free than my own home country. But it has so many other advantages that and that's an interesting thought experiment too, is like, at which point do you give up freedom and for safety, and at what point do you I don't know, like rise up against it? And is that even possible these days? Because we have peaceful protesters that come out with masks on at most, and then the police come out in riot gear. I think, and this is a kind of an off the wall idea, is I think the police should come out with no weapons. They should come out and be as innocent and be as vulnerable as the people that they're trying to serve. Meet them on the streets with the same protection that they have. And if you're so afraid that you'll get shot, maybe I don't know. I think that protesters that are trying to silently protest is a right, and I think the police force should meet them in the same way. But at this point, they're met with force.
I say just keep. I mean, what's going to happen here? People are going to keep this protest up, and if they do, and the curfew is going to, and this dynamic is going to continue, and they're going to wait, as you said earlier. They, meaning the people with the riot gear and the power on top of the pyramid, are going to wait for it to blow over, and the only solution to that is to not let it blow over. Just make it like, this is my job. I don't have a job right now. I'm on unemployment. Why? There's a pandemic. So I'm going to work with my lunchbox and my mask and some milk for when I get tear gassed and my friends get tear gassed. Okay, and I'm going to go out to work every day, and it's going to be something that, like, this is a fixture, and it's not just in the United States; it's other countries as well, and that's super important because it's not just this little problem, a few bad apples. No, we're not the bad apples. The bad apples are, there are more of us than there are of them, and as long as we keep that in the front of our mind, that, I think, is the only way that something is going to change. The only way, because as soon as we sit back down, as soon as people go back home and things just we accept, it's going to just be like school shootings again. We had the school shooting, hearts and prayers and thoughts. Oh, so bad. Speeches, etc.
Yeah.
A month later, less than that, boom. So no, we stay out there. We stay out there, and if not, then we get what we ask for, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to find. We have a lot of good comments here. Nick says, "Really scary times. Take care, you too. And what can be said? What can be said? I don't know. So I don't know. This is less uplifting and upbeat than what we usually do, but I feel like it's important to talk about. Heidi asks, well, his question gets blocked off. So Heidi, if you're still listening, can you post your question in a separate thing, because it just seems to cut off if the comments are super long. So thank you for that.
Sorry, Heidi. We're learning how the interface works and doesn't. The limitations. Yeah. We never had anybody write so much. So
yeah. And Randy says, I totally agree with what you guys are saying. There's no easy answers. There are no easy answers, but I think not listening to your people is not the answer. I think you should have some empathy towards your citizens, but maybe we should all just shut up and go watch V for Vendetta instead. Because ultimately, is 1984 going to be 2024, or what's going on? Yeah, and John, Marcel says this total damage, COVID plus neo-fascism, is the perfect scenario for authoritarianism. Yeah, that is quite the statement, but and that's maybe one of the reasons why things blew up so much, is because not only has it gone on way too long without any meaningful solutions from the other side, if you will, but when people have been cooped up in their houses, out of a job, scared, now fearful of others, because who knows who has it, and they're asymptomatic. So you create this psychological feeling of fear that is based on uncertainty and the lack of knowledge, because it is impossible to know, because we don't necessarily know who is infected or whatnot. And therefore we stay at home. And then because we are social creatures overall, we have a hard time dealing with a society in which we are not allowed to be social. And then when the society just continues, basically plowing through the civil liberties, then what are they? Of course, they're going to come out of their houses and they're going to be mad. They're going to be even angrier.
They should be angry. There's a comment here from John. It says, does anything we say actually matter? I hear you, John. And I've been thinking about it a little bit. I think it matters, and here's the only thing I can come up with, really, is the following.
Yeah.
What you say matters because two things. One, what you say helps you understand better what you think, because you're forced to articulate it.
Yeah.
You know how we think and feel inside without language, and everything's kind of a maelstrom. It's sort of it's just a big, it's a ball of confusion, and It makes sense somehow to us, but when we have to speak it, we have to give it order. Therefore, the act of writing, the act of speaking, this articulates your thoughts. That's important. The second thing is, and this may be even more important, what you say gives courage to what other people haven't said yet, right? Bjorgvin speaking, myself speaking, you, John, speaking, anybody speaking.
Yeah.
Even if the speaking is not so beautiful, right? I'm doing a lot of that. Even if I'm not an orator, right? I'm not Robert Kennedy. I can't quote Sophocles like he did on the night that Martin Luther King was assassinated. He landed where he was supposed to be giving a political speech and quoted Sophocles, a playwright from Greece, right? No notes. I don't have that skill. But the whole idea of speaking and saying something, someone else might hear you, and you might help them to speak or at least to understand something. Or they'll correct you. Let's say they disagree with you, and they say, I speak back at you. Haha. It's like tennis. As long as we can agree that we're not going to smash each other with the rackets, right? We're just going to hit the ball real hard, and we're going to try to outdo each other, and maybe learn something in the spirit of it. Maybe learn something in the process, right? So
I mean, it's great.
That's the only answer I got for you, John. But
well, you make a good point, because there are some people feel empowered to speak up because they see others do the same, and we all have certain amounts of courage within us. Maybe we have the courage of a lion or the courage of a mouse
or a house mouse.
Yeah. And but at the same time, maybe if the lion roars, the house mouse can help out.
Yes, but also think of the people who do speak. Now, there's a lot of people who hold the microphone, right? And I'm not talking about journalists. I'm talking about the elected officials. They do a lot of speaking, and somehow
they don't say anything.
They don't say anything, but they shape the argument. They pivot is the word they do, right? They talk about what they want to talk about. Now, if we don't speak in response to that, we let them get away with it. So if nothing else, we can at least go lie. You lie, and I'm not going to be polite about it anymore. We've tried polite. I'm not going to hurt you, but I am going to call you out. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. And if I look bad, then I look bad. No. And if I lose some friends, then I lose some friends. No. But if something is wrong, and I think that thing is wrong, I have to say something. If it's Mitch McConnell, or if it's the president, or if it's Mr. Obama, or anybody, if I say, you said you were going to do X, you never did it, and I'm going to call you out on it. Do I still have affection for you? Yes. Am I still proud of some things you did? Yes. But I can, as a true friend, I can say, this about you is great, and this about you sucks.
Yeah.
I can call you out on it. Why? Because I can say something.
Yeah. Marcel says, my country, Brazil, is going through the same issues, and we're divided between going to the streets and protesting or staying at home and protecting ourselves from the virus. Yeah, that's really difficult to hear, Marcel, because I just learned today that Brazil is the second largest infection rate after the US in the world. So please do take care of yourself, regardless of what you decide to do. And I wish you all the best.
I'm sorry about that. Everyone, I'll hear people say, "Oh, it's summertime and the virus doesn't operate well in the heat," and I just think of Brazil.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, well, tell that to the people in Brazil.
Right.
Oh, it's not. It's not full on in the heat.
Right. Heidi, she's. I'm going to assume it's a she. I'm producing a series of virtual reality concerts that support world peace through COVID, covering global warming issues. I commend you for the effort. How do I include and address the racial issue in a way that will open people's minds to the broader aspect of respect and love toward our fellow members of the human race?
How do I include and address the racial issue?
I think that you just you treat it as something that deserves respect and love. I think that doing it having the goal be respect and love towards your fellow human beings is a good place to start.
I think you're doing it right now, Heidi. Like
Cut.
you're already doing it. Speak from the heart. That's all I can say. Speak from the heart and do, as I've said with John. It's kind of return to that little question. Does anything we say actually matter? Speak from the heart, and you'll be fine.
I'll ask, how can we stop the police from doing wrong? One of the things I have an interesting perspective on, being an American citizen or immigrant, is the reputation for the cops here is really, really bad. I am afraid of the police. I understand that people less privileged than me are even more terrified of the police. And what saddens me so much is that the country where I'm from, and I'm from Iceland, and people will be like, oh yeah, it's just a small country, everybody, it's fine, there's no crime and all that. But sure, but maybe because the police there, it's a night and day sort of situation. The police in Iceland are so much more empathetic and sympathetic and kinder and gentler human beings when it comes to policing. They and like just for instance, like to be fair, if you wanna have an Instagram account to follow and sort of see restore your faith in humanity to a certain extent when it comes to other police outside of the US, you should follow the Icelandic police Instagram account, because they're always up to fun things and everybody loves them. They have more followers, I think, than the population of Iceland. So
John writes, I keep hearing, because this isn't happening to, quote, me, then I don't have the right to comment. And that makes me think of something I was talking with Björgvin briefly about before we went live. And that is, John, the song Strange Fruit, I'm assuming. And if not, then just Google it and have a listen. Mm-hmm. Strange Fruit was made famous by Billie Holiday in 1939 when she first sang it. And she henceforth sang it at every concert, even after she was forbidden to. She said, I won't perform here unless I can sing that song. Sometimes they said, well, you can't sing it. And she said, okay. And then she sang it anyway. But the song Strange Fruit, which is considered by many, we'll just say by many, to be the anthem of the civil rights movement, written in 1937 by a white Jewish teacher. His name was I have it on a tab here. The man behind Strange Fruit, Abel Meeropol. He was white Jewish teacher, member of the Communist Party for a while as well. Full disclosure there. And why not? It's his right to. But point being, if a white guy can see a photograph, which is what happened, he saw a photograph of a lynching that was taken in 1930. It so haunted him, he wrote a poem about it. He called the poem Bitter Fruit. Then he and his wife set the poem to music. Why? Because he wasn't done with it. Set it to music. He and his wife performed it here and there, a few cafes. They eventually performed it once at Madison Square Garden. I don't know the circumstances around that performance. I just know that it occurred in 1939. And somehow there are a couple different stories about how Billie Holiday came in contact with it. But if she can take on a song written by a white guy about the lynchings of Black Americans in the South, and she can say, this is the song that I'm going to hang my career on, not I'm going to make my career on. And I use the word hang under advisement. I'm going to hang my career on this. Why? Because that song doomed her career. And she knew it. And she kept singing.
Yeah, it's a very.
There it is. There it is, right there. And just to put a period at the end of this sentence, Strange Fruit was, by Time Magazine, elected or nominated, not nominated, but declared, I guess, the song of the century.
Yeah.
It's a short song. It's 3 stanzas. 3 stanzas, almost not long enough to record. Billie Holiday wanted to record it at Columbia, where she was. They said, no, you're not going to record this song. She went to the guy, John Hammond, who discovered her. He said, no, I'm not going to let you record this song. So she went to someone else. And she sang it for them a cappella in his office, moved him to tears, and Columbia gave her a release for 1 day from her contract so that she could record Strange Fruit with this other company. I can't remember the name of the company. But that is the story of Strange Fruit. So, John, I'm right there with you because I'm a white guy. I don't know about you, but I'm a white guy. And I have feelings all the time of like, gee, I'm out of my depth here. I can't talk about this. I'm not black. I can't. How can I speak on behalf of? And then I just think some white guy wrote Strange Fruit. And that's it. I mean,
yeah,
that's it. I got nothing else to say.
Yeah.
Check it out. Yeah.
Heidi says a few things. White America needs to use this platform to stand up for what's right instead of standing on the sidelines. Communication, listening especially, is a great start. And then education is key. Acceptance, not tolerance, is also key. People are people are people. Also a good song. People are people.
Mm.
And then the Reaper blog sent a bunch of people over. It seemed.
The Reaper blog.
Maybe weren't realizing what they were what they were getting themselves into.
How do you know the Reaper blog sent people over here?
That's just in the Reaper blog sent us.
Oh, Reaper blog, John Heidi. He doesn't know it, but I'm a fan of his.
Yeah,
big fan of John Heidi. I'm a Reaper user myself, and I've learned so much good stuff from John. Thank you, John. I wish he were here. I could thank him, but maybe one day we'll cross paths.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Known him for quite some time.
Maybe you can just let him know that he's got a fan out here.
Yeah. What's going on here? Randy says each statement of solidarity moves us incrementally forward, and yes, we can inspire others to get more active. That's good.
And we don't have to start a movement here. You don't have to be Martin Luther King. I know I can't ever be, but it's the small things. It's the things that happen in your backyard, right? Things that sometimes happen around your dinner table. Where you gotta say, oh, geez, am I gonna say something to Grandpa who just used the N-word as if it was nothing? Or am I gonna keep my mouth shut? I mean, that's a tough choice. It really is. But it's just an example of I keep thinking of the phrase, tend your garden. Tend your garden. Maybe you can't change the world, right? We can't go out and change the world, but we can change our world, right? And I can pull the weeds in my garden.
Yeah.
Right.
Steve chimes in about what we were talking about the police earlier. You're right about the fear of the police. I'm British, and I consider we have a police service, not a police force.
Nice.
And that's an interesting difference in semantics, because just the use of the word police force means that they're in control, and whatever they want you to do, you do, regardless of,
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
Yeah. Chris says we don't all have to be. Appreciate his avatar there. We don't all have to be John Brown, and all Americans should know who he is. But white people absolutely need to use their voices and their privilege to move the fight for equality forward. So yeah.
Yeah, we have to recognize we're all in this together.
Agreed.
And all is not just the people in your neighborhood, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up, Bjorkman? Yeah. What's up, Bjorkman?
Nah, I don't know. I was just gonna say that if you need a leader, not to necessarily look to lead you, because he's not he's not with us anymore, but there's this thing that's called "What Do You Do with the Mad That You Feel?" Have you heard about that song?
I think I have.
It's from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yes, I love Mr. Rogers.
What do you do with the mad that you feel? When you feel so mad you could bite? When the whole wide world seems oh so wrong, and nothing you do seems right. So, what do? Do you punch a bag? Do you pound some clay or some dough? Do you round up friends for a game of tag or see how fast you can go? Personally, if I'm very upset, I go for a run because it's the best way to blow off steam. It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong and be able to do something else instead and think this song. I can stop when I want to, can stop when I wish. I can stop anytime. And what a good feeling to feel like this and know that the feeling is really mine. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can someday a woman, for a girl can be someday a woman, and a boy can someday a man. And be someday a man. So, if you haven't seen the Mr. Rogers documentary already or the feature film with Tom Hanks, I highly recommend watching it.
I saw the former, but I did not see the latter. But
The
documentary was just outstanding.
I watched it 3 times in a weekend. I like
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, I tried to get Jessica to watch it, my wife Jessica, and she's like, well, we'll put it on our list, but we haven't gotten to it yet. And I have a feeling the list is just going to get longer and that Mr. Rogers is going to go down to the bottom. But she's got me to remind her of the this or that little pointer lesson. So yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he single-handedly saved the PBS.
Yeah, I mean it's an incredible scene in that movie where he pleads with Congress to keep funding going and it's just
there's some words for you, John. He spoke. And he wasn't particularly eloquent. He just said very plainly, this is what happens with little children. And this is how I talk to them. Not like they're children. I talk to them like they're people.
Yeah.
And this is how they change. And this is how we communicate. And the senator was so moved that right on the spot, he said, Mr. Rogers, you have your money. PBS will stay open.
Yeah.
Like, never see that. Never see that today. Oh, I wish we did.
Well, I just think we need a little more articulateness, which is not a word, which defeats the purpose of my
well, it illustrates your point.
But I think we need a lot more calm, mindful, reasonable, stoic minds in order to make move forward. And I think that's a good way to wrap it up for today. This was a intense conversation, and I think that people have gotten enough food for thought. So unless people have any more questions or comments for us to read, John says again here, I wish adults had not lost the ability to love unconditionally like children. Yeah, there's something about the beauty in a child's innocence that we should learn to re-embrace as adults.
If only it were that easy.
Yeah.
If only it were that easy. But that's why we have art. I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't hate to say it. It's true. That's why we have art. Yeah. Because artists somehow have held on to the beginner's mind. They've held on to the beginner's mind. I think of a child's mind as a beginner's mind. They've held on to this sense of curiosity, this sense of seeing the world the way they see it. And that's why we go to artists, because we want to see the world or hear the world, experience something the way that artist does, because it gives us an opportunity to have a gaze at something from a different perspective. It's really going back to what you were saying, John, earlier. Why speak at all? It's like if you're an artist and you say to the artist, why paint at all? Why write at all? No one's going to read it. Somebody might, right? In addition to you and the people in your world.
Yeah, you never know. You never know who who your creativity is going to affect, and the surest way to leave no no impression on the world is to keep it all to yourself, or be too afraid to express yourself through your creativity, or your or in whatever form that may be.
Yeah, yeah, so what, the bass is not right I've got this song and I can't get the bass right. So what, it's a little thin. So what, it's a little too trebly. Put it out there. Let somebody else say, this sucks. And then say, fine, whatever, it sucks. But somebody else might hear it and be like, all right, that's something I hadn't thought of before. That's why we go to artists. That's why artists exist. They give us a different world, or an opportunity at a different world, a way to reimagine our own world. And that's how, that's how change happens. Maybe you're not Martin Luther King. You're probably not, but you can pull the weeds from your own garden, right? And there's something to that. So I haven't really figured it out.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever will, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. Man, so after my email yesterday, I got a lot of replies. I tend to get, people don't tend to reply with sincere comments when I just tell them to, how to EQ their kick drum. They just take that information and use it and whatnot. But when I get political, which is very rarely, I would say every 4 years.
Step it up, Björgvin. Step it up.
Yeah, well, that I get sort of an outpouring of support and kind words, especially regarding that email yesterday, because it was a deviation from my normal writing style. It was more akin to poetry and lyric writing than necessarily blog writing or commentary in any way. And of course, it's about 90% positive, and then there's 10% that get a little outraged. And to all those all lives matter people that responded that all lives matter, I understand that all human life is valuable and we all matter in some way. But when you're mixing and your bass sucks and you can't figure out how to mix it, you're not going to be focusing on the snare.
No, and if so,
or the vocal. They don't need your attention at this moment.
Yeah.
It's your bass that doesn't fit. It's muddy. It's boomy. It doesn't stay put where it's supposed to be in your mix. You're gonna mix all the tracks. It's gonna be a great song. But in this moment, we're focusing on the bass.
Yeah. It's like a house burning down, right, Björgvin? Your house is on the block with all the other houses, and yours is burning down. So what are the firemen going to do? Hose down every house on the block? No. They're going to the place that needs help.
Yeah.
And right now, we're not the ones. We white paleface, we don't need the help right now. Right now, at this particular moment, people who are not white, they need the help. So yes, all lives matter, 100%. But when there's a crisis, when your house is burning, put the house out that's on fire first. Okay? And by the way, firemen, the whole fire department, right? This is socialism, folks. Just like your libraries and education, right? Okay, we'll leave it there.
Yeah. Let's not get it too much. I took I'll leave my
I liked your mixing metaphor was probably the place to stop. I'm so sorry.
You just had to make it political, Ed.
I did. So sorry.
Well, I think we'll leave it at that. Please remember to like and subscribe, I guess.
What a ridiculous thing to say.
I know.
Right now.
No, but
don't worry about liking and subscribing, folks.
No,
we'll be here next week. Don't worry.
Go out and talk to somebody about it. Share your emotions about things. Don't post on Facebook just to be outraged. Just have a conversation with somebody. Just try to understand put empathy and understanding first, and you don't get points for being the most self-righteous on Facebook.
No. And if that's your concern, then whatever. I don't know what you're doing here, but I think you're right, Bjorgen. It's not about that. Nick gives us a +1 for Simon. Yes, Simon has beat one Stilling, I believe.
Yeah, get out those old Clash and Specials records and listen to the lyrics. Lots of truth in there.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Go listen to protest records. Go listen to music that makes you feel, and music that makes you, turns you up in some way.
Or down. Right now, I need to mellow out right now. I gotta eat dinner. All right.
Well, thank you all for tuning in for another episode of Influences and References.
I hope you're glad that we showed up, because Bjorgen was this close to canceling. He actually sent me a text saying, okay, we're canceling. Today, we're canceling. And I was like, okay, whatever you want to do. But maybe it's something we could talk about. I don't know what's going to happen in the talk, Bjorgen. And then he said, what the hell? Let's do it.
I'm
glad you did, because I got to see you at least.
Yeah, because it's like 80% of success is showing up. And even though the topic is uncomfortable and maybe doesn't fit inside my brand of audio production, I think it's still important enough to cut our regularly scheduled programming to bring you something of substance. All right, everyone.
All right, take care, folks.
See you later.
Be safe out there.